If I ever hit the lottery, I'm gonna get some big name filmmaker. I'll get you, and we'll do a 3-hour documentary, 3-part, 1 hour on the history of behavior analysis, but in a way that is a story. You know, like Skinner teaching pigeons to play ping pong, freaking awesome. You know, I think at the end of the day, we have a lot of really good thinkers and good scientists and good professionals and good families, and we are an incredibly powerful field, but we suck at getting the message out. We suck at translating what we do into real world terms. I mean, if you think about it, the only quote unquote classic behavioral intervention that ever made the leap into mainstream is timeout, where it was incredibly overused and abused and misused. You know, to the point that timeout is almost a meaningless word outside of applied behavior analysis. We need to talk to the masses about what we do. You know, it's a science, but it's not rocket science. It's a people science, and we can translate what we do. I think, you know, Pat Fryman talks about telling stories.
Yeah, I was given a workshop for parents of children on the autism spectrum. And before I started, they warned me some of the parents are going to be angry and frustrated because they're not getting any services. They're not going to be angry at me because services up in Canada are free, but they're in big demand, so there's a huge waiting list. These parents are on the waiting list. And they said one of them tends to be kind of hard on speakers. And so they also said, we don't think she's going to come. But then I'm up on the stage and they go, pink sweater, so she's here. And so I caution the audience, you know, please hold your questions until the break. I talk for 2 minutes, pink sweatered arm shoots into the air. She asks me a question that really is not relevant to what I'm talking about. And privately, I'm blaming her for being rude and selfish. But publicly, I answer her question patiently. That happened twice more. I still answer her question patiently. Privately, I'm blaming her for being rude and selfish. But the 4th time it happens, that's it. And that's it is it. And so I was sarcastic and dismissive. She left at the break. I just didn't know her circumstances. I found out about it later. She was a single mother of 2 small children. You know, right there's a sacred being. And these 2 children, profoundly delayed. She's getting no services. The only shot she's got, come to these workshops, try and get them down a speaker. She's willing to look bad in front of hundreds of people just to get a little something for her kids. That's not selfish. That's selfless. I just didn't see it. I got caught up in that old way of thinking that our way of thinking corrects for. I didn't take into account her circumstances. I just went right after her character. And I consider that a serious failure on my part. I wish I had a do-over. Our way of thinking transforms all that into something quite a bit more powerful and humane. It's just that there's only thousands of us, and there are billions of people that think that old way. This way that we think, it's only been around about 100 years. That old way has been around for thousands of years. So we have a mission, and that mission is to get this new way of thinking out to the world.
You know, and I think that's what we need to do better. Our data are fabulous, but outside of our little world, nobody really cares. It's essential for us, and it's essential for us to move forward. But when we try and translate what we do to the rest of the world so they understand, just saying that we're the most scientifically based, evidence-based intervention for autism that exists isn't enough when we have other people telling better stories. You know, just like in the 80s, cancer, there wasn't a whole lot of really good research on cancer, but there were really good evidence-based treatments. Not a whole lot, but they existed. But so cancer patients were going to Mexico for shark lidotril, and all that, people were scrambling to find anything, even though there was this science thing, because nobody really translated out into the real world. 20 years later, those other interventions, they exist, but most people now go to their oncologist. Most people know that and they humanized it. You know, cancer, it used to be the C word. Now it's just cancer. You know, autism shouldn't be a mysterious disorder. It should just be autism. Big frickin' deal. Like, it's just part of the human condition. That's all it is. Like, no mysterious disorder. And applied behavior analysis is just a science of human behavior. You know, Skinner didn't invent it, he discovered it. You know, by observing. It existed since organisms were on the planet. It existed. He's the one who discovered it. And it's really important that it wasn't invented. You know, that is such a great story to tell. But we rarely tell it.
He's right. And when we do try to tell it, when someone like myself stumbles into this field trying to figure out what to do, how to make sense of it, and travels all over the damn world trying to find stories to share about behavior analysis, you know what's really ironic there? Is a community that knows so much about behavioral science and how to influence human behavior on an individual scale can't seem to organize themselves at a community-based level to actually support people like myself and the people that have jumped on this channel that believe in this vision. And it gets even crazier. It gets insane because in 2018, our own Perspectives on Behavior Science, a journal in our own field, was talking about the role of narrative and storytelling in affecting the adoption, dissemination of our practices, tools, procedures, techniques. That's right, our own damn research. In fact, so many people don't know about this that I've turned it into a workshop series that I take around the world. It just completely blows my mind. And not because I don't understand it, but because there's some sort of old guard opposition to being okay and comfortable with your feelings, being okay trying something different, using modern technology and tools to try to reach the masses. Because of the fear that something might go wrong or it's not said by the right person or it needs to come from a certain entity. That is ridiculous. The thing is, behavior analysis has taught us that when you're trying to achieve some sort of goal and you're not quite getting there, that you have strings that you can pull on. One of those is inducing variability. Inducing variability in this community, people like myself, like a dude running around with a hat that's trying to tell stories about behavior analysis, can be good. It is okay. I was talking to the bar the other night with someone about how even if there is a big mess up on something, right? Like, oh man, something's uploaded and it's the worst thing ever. We're not hurt. We're not hurt at a scale that actually matters. It's not like this is Skinner publishing in Science or getting a time spread. That's not the scale we're at right now. Like, we can correct. We can actually, use our own field to help shape the things that we're trying to get more of. I can list off dozens of behavioral solutions that have been developed that are not heard because they've neglected this aspect of that. After you build the solution, you have to tell people about it. You have to deploy it out there. There's nothing that's unethical at the core of telling people I have a solution. In fact, the opposite is probably more true. The fact that you develop something and you will not use the things that we know works outside of our field to be able to help get that solution out there, that sounds like something that is functionally unethical. Our field works so hard to achieve such amazing outcomes. And the biggest barrier in our way is ourselves. It's not everybody. There's a strong group of people that believe in this sort of thing with no clue where it'll go, but our tools by our side. If you want to be a part of that, this is your call to action. Join the community and let's figure out how we can achieve these sort of goals.
If I ever hit the lottery, I'm gonna get some big name filmmaker. I'll get you. And we'll do a 3-hour documentary, 3-part, 1 hour on the history of behavior analysis, but in a way that is a story. Like Skinner teaching pigeons to play ping pong, freaking awesome. That's what's gonna capture people's attention, you know, but we get so lost in man's text, intraverbals, autoclitic, like important internally, essential internally, externally, blah, 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 blah. That's what we need to do because we can change the world. You know, it's not bullshit, it's not propaganda. Like, we can for the better. And there are examples everywhere, big and small. Like, we all wear seatbelts all the time because of applied behavior analysis. Yeah, like we should talk about that. And all of these other changes in our lives. So I think more and more people growing up in the field are becoming better storytellers. You know, to steal Pat Fryman's line, Richard Fox used to say, translate the covenant. Like, get it out there beyond the believers. And that's when real behavior change occurs. You know, once people out there start to understand more and more of what we do and why we do it, I think then we really can change the world.